I'm trying to do 5 things at once today.
Yeah, multitasking.
Yes.
I wish I would stop getting these dumb notifications on iLearn. Okay.
Don't you love it?
I'm like, I've already clicked it away. Like, stop bringing it back up. Okay, so it says, ask one person on your team to explain employment at will and the exceptions. There's only 2 of us, so maybe I'll just read over this stuff.
Yeah.
So it talks about the breach of implied contract. So this is an implied contract created by the actions of the employer. So like making statements about how well they're doing, or an implied contract can also be created in an employment manual that details termination practices. Yeah, basically just kind of like telling them how good they're doing, which makes them feel like they have job security or something. The other one is breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. This says that this could come into play where an employer unfairly tries to avoid doing what they agreed to do under the contract by terminating an employee. So they don't want to do something, so they fire someone.
Right.
Violation of public policy, terminating an employee for refusing to commit an unlawful act, serving on jury duty, blowing the whistle, filing for workers' comp, refusing to date someone's boss, etc. Right. And then all the discrimination stuff, race, origin, gender, disabilities, age. Okay, so I gotta open up the reading. Oh, and then we're supposed to discuss employment at will.
What does that truly mean?
I don't know. I just went with the definition from the first case study where it says, under U.S. law, employment agreements are generally considered at will, meaning that the employee can quit at any time and the employer can discharge the employee at any time for any or no reason, with or without notice. Like Idaho is an at-will state. I know that.
Okay, so that's meaning like no unions.
Yeah, just like
okay.
I go in and get a job at Subway, they can fire me whenever they want, or I can leave whenever I want. You know, there's nothing keeping me there. Like, I didn't sign something saying I have to give 2 weeks notice.
Right.
I mean, it's like polite to give notice, but you don't have to. Okay, so we got Terry. It says, like, what impact does Terry have on the company's bottom line?
Right. Well, you know what? Anytime somebody's dismissed, there's always the bottom line effect, no matter what, because even if they're not doing a good job, they're doing some part of the job right. But then you have to go and pay all the unemployment benefits, and then you have to go and rehire and put all that time and money into rehiring somebody.
Right.
So it does affect profits. Hang on, I gotta get a wait a minute. I gotta get somebody bring me a bottle of water. Man, bring me a bottle of water.
I just sent a message to Herdy. I told her I sent her the link and to let me know if she needs it again. So.
Okay.
So this says, like, Terry could translate things, so he would go around and ask other people what he should do. His primary responsibility was writing specifications for what we were going to build, but he wouldn't put his own decisions into it. He was taking more of my time to manage and more time away from other people than he was contributing. His contribution was actually nothing, and I don't think he knew it because he didn't know that his job was more than asking people for ideas. So when it says, what impact does he have on the bottom line? Really none. Like,
he wasn't doing it. If he was writing specs, he should know what he was doing. He should know how to write specs.
Right. but he wasn't really taking the initiative. He was just asking other people what to do. So he wasn't really contributing.
He was taken away from the productivity, or however you say it, from the other people.
Yeah, and the manager's time too.
Mm-hmm.
It asks the same thing about Phil. So the manager says, in her opinion, he wasn't as bad as Terry. He actually managed to contribute something to the team, but it wasn't a full person's contribution because he didn't have the engineering or the science or the tech background. So
Right.
he's contributing a little. So it says, what obligations does the manager have to the company based on this information? According to the manager, Terry makes no contribution, so all of his salary and benefits are pure cost in a company that is only making $300,000 in a year. Phil seems to be less of the financial liability. So,
taking his salary out is not going to hurt the company.
Right. Yeah. So let's see. Taking Terry's salary out would actually be good for the company.
Right.
Because it's just costing them. Phil's doing a little bit, but still not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Keep talking. I got to run and get something, but I can still hear you.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Gosh.
No, I'm just sitting here. I don't mean to be silent, but I'm just thinking. Do the companies, him being like, okay, back to your original question about how to write the letter of recommendation.
Yeah.
You can state one of the things in there. He is always engaged in asking questions.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
I don't know how to word it correctly.
Right.
But,
he's like trying to be involved.
Right.
Even though he's technically supposed to be doing it himself, but
yes.
We could spin it to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Okay. So based on what we've learned about employment at will and the exceptions to it, what legal obligations could the manager have to Terry and Phil? So we know Terry is...
He has no obligation to the one because he's not doing his job.
But, okay, are both of these guys older?
I don't think it ever said.
I don't think so. I know the manager is 27, but I don't know if I remember seeing ages of Phil and Terry. Let's see. So Terry's the one who was basically hired because he was friends with the CEO.
Right.
He didn't pass any of the interviews, but they still hired him. So that was dumb.
That was the weird thing.
Yeah. So the discussion prep says, like, Terry, possibility of implied contract. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. More and more people today, their resumes don't read correct.
Like mostly fluff.
Mm-hmm. My husband has found that out reading through resumes for engineers.
Let's see. And I think Terry
That's,
had been giving like 3s on his review. So maybe that could be like,
why do they still hire him?
oh, let's see. Terry is 15 years older than the manager, so 27 plus 15. He's like 45-ish.
Yeah.
I
There's
know.
no age discrimination.
Right. So it says like there's possible implied contract and age discrimination with Terry. And with Phil, there's the possibility of the disability discrimination because Phil has, what was it, liver cancer or?
Now, see, you have to be very careful with that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
He's working and stuff. She's going to give him a bad review. He's a complete disaster. She's going to give him a 2.5. Let's see. She was getting massive pressure from her boss to put him on a PIP and get him out of the company. But then he gets sick right around the time they were going to do a review. Went to the hospital, brought the balloons. They're like rallying around him. Took disability. He'd come back in sometimes. Yeah, this one is a tough one. Like when he came back, he said he was cured and he looked okay. In training, I learned things you couldn't fire someone for. He was over 40 and I couldn't fire him for his age, but I don't remember ever being told you can't fire someone because they've been sick a lot. But
but see, the thing being is you have to be very careful. Very, very.
Yeah, it'd be way obvious to have him come back from being sick and be like, sorry, we're gonna have to let you go. Everyone knows it's because he's sick.
Now, if everybody, if they were doing a downsizing in force and more than one person was being let go.
Okay. Let's see. What ethical obligations does the manager have to them, the company, other employees, and to herself? So the suggestions say that like Terry, he could be dangerous. Remember, she talked about how he's like older guy, balding, single, doesn't have a social life. Let's see, doesn't it say something like she knows he has a gun or something?
Yeah, but that you can't do that.
Okay, I knew Terry kept a gun in his car because he and some other people would go shooting on weekends and after work. And you do hear these stories of employees going crazy. He's 15 years older than me, short and balding.
Here's the thing. You can't say just because he has a gun in the car. Of that area that you have to say.
Okay, repeat that very last part because it went super choppy.
You have to state
okay,
they cannot fire him due to having a gun in his car. Now, if he brought it into the building, that's a whole different scenario.
Oh, right. But she's not going to fire him because he has the gun in her car, but it makes her nervous because she's afraid if she fires him, he's going to go crazy.
Has he shown any signs of that?
I don't know. Some people don't, and then they just go shoot up a place. Terry just doesn't seem well balanced. He had a lot of things in his life that weren't good. Religious, very religious and political. He would post stuff on the company board.
Oh, that's a no-no.
So let's see. Terry could be dangerous. The top management wants to retain him because, of course, they hired him, so they don't want to see him get fired because that makes them look incompetent.
Yeah. My husband had that happen in his company.
Yeah, I think that's really tricky, but I think it's pretty common. Like, no one wants the person they chose to get fired because they're not doing their job.
Yeah.
Because obviously it makes people second guess that manager's choice. Let's see. He's been given high scores in the past, but I think that's because they talked about how they would submit the review and then top management would come back and say you can't give him that low, you got to bump it up, which is stupid.
Right.
Phil thinks he should get a promotion. His group has been rallying around him during his illness. How would terminating him now impact the morale of the rest of the employees?
If you're sick, you're out.
Yeah, they would all get terrified. They would all worry about taking time off or something, and they would probably be like angry because they're like, what the heck, man? You can't fire Phil. Like, he's freaking dying of like liver disease. Like, you can't do that to him. Ugh. I don't know. This case study made me realize, like, I don't ever want to deal with employees.
No.
Who knows what I'll actually end up.
But it makes me think, okay, I have my cow business, but that's just mine and my daughter's. But if I want to own one, I'm going to have to deal with all this type. Do I really want to deal with it?
Yeah. I'm thinking about, like, healthcare administration. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They would be really stressful.
Yes.
Step 3, analyzing the company's HR practices. I wasn't really sure on this one. Like, okay, some of the questions are, how well is the company doing with its HR practices generally? How do they hire? How do they manage people and give feedback? Do employees get a clear picture of how they're performing? What's the PIP for? Do you agree with the way the company uses the PIPs? Okay, let's talk about the PIPs. So, where does it go? I think it talks about the PIP for Phil. Okay, so if you get a low score on your review, you get put on a PIP, and then it's sort of like setting you up to get fired. They put you on the PIP, and then they kind of just look for ways that you're not meeting standards so that they can say, okay, this is it, you're fired. So the manager doesn't like them. She thinks they're condescending. These people think they have a chance, but most people on a PIP don't get off of them. Okay, the general expectation of managers and HR was that you didn't put someone on a PIP unless you wanted them gone. So HR probably needs to reevaluate the PIP because, I don't know to say to the employee, like, okay, we're going to work on like improving you, when really they're just waiting for one more error so they can actually justify firing you.
Right. But my thing is they do not have a good review system.
Right, with the 2.5 or 0 to 5 scale thing.
You're right.
Let's see. I wonder if it talks about that more. I think it's in. Gosh, these are so confusing. Okay, so a 2.5 is not meeting the standard. 3.0 is barely meeting it. So 2.5 is basically the first step to firing someone. So yeah, but then she puts in for Terry to get a 2.5. Then the managers will come back and say, are you sure? Do you know what you're doing? So they would try to like pressure her to increase his 2.5.
He must have really, it sounds like when, after he did it and he must have got through somehow to interview with some of them, he really fluffed himself in the interview process.
Well, he still failed all the interviews though, right? Like, that's what I don't understand is like, who ultimately decided to fire him?
Well, who decided to hire him? They're not telling us a point.
It says the executives decided to bring Terry in for an interview. Everything was great. Company was doing good. So they thought, why not bring him in? He didn't pass interviews. He got no hires straight across the board from 5 people. Usually you go home after 2 or 3 no hires, but they hired him anyway. All of the feedback was negative. So yeah, it's like,
why
hired him? Was it just the CEO? Because you know, did the CEO override the 5 interviewers and be like, sorry, I'm making the call? Like,
Yeah. That you?
yeah, I heard he said to send her the link again, so I just told her I just sent it.
Oh, okay. Whoever hired, if the CEO hired him, it was a dumb mistake on the CEO's part.
Yeah. Which is why he doesn't want him fired. Let's see. So yeah, we don't agree with the way the company uses PIPs. They should phase those out and get rid of them, or somehow create a different discipline.
Right.
Okay, it says, do you think this manager can make good decisions about these two, or does she seem to be influenced by biases that will be hard to overcome? Personally, I think she can make good decisions about them.
Yeah. She made him, but she got overruled.
Yeah, she tried.
Yeah.
I don't think her biases are too obvious. I mean, like, she recognizes they're older, they're not as skilled. I think that stuff, I don't think that's like a bias. I think that's just like an observation.
Yes.
Like, be honest with yourself. Like, unfortunately, this person doesn't have the skills for the job. Like, they were just hired because they were their CEO's kid's scuba diving teacher.
I like how you say that.
It's like, hey, you taught my kids to scuba dive, so come work at my tech company. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what should we do if you were her? What would you do with Phil and Terry? Would you fire them or what?
I take the one out that doesn't have the qualification and has not proven himself. He has not brought anything to the table.
Okay, that's Terry.
Terry. Phil, you are on thin ice right now, saying you're going to fire him due to being sick.
I agree. I think Terry is easy to get rid of. Like, hey, sorry that you're friends with the CEO, but like, you're just not contributing anything.
You're right.
So it says, what are the alternatives to firing Terry? Not firing him.
Yeah.
Putting him on a PIP and then firing him. What message will firing or not firing Terry send to other employees? Well, I think the other employees like Terry. Well, I don't know. Terry's the one that's always going around asking people for their ideas and then just writes them down. So maybe other people are kind of irritated with him too.
True.
Feeling like he's sort of like just kind of a waste of time that they have to take from their day to answer his questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it says, I'm supposed to make the reading available for you by giving you guys the password, but it's not password protected. I don't know what that's all about. So we're supposed to read the second one about her final decisions with them. So
okay. What was her?
So Terry, she decided to give him a 2.5. He was a little surprised. He's like, I thought I would get a 3. She said that he knew he wasn't going to get a 3.5, but he was definitely not happy about her plan. She basically just said, like, look at everyone we've hired. What do you think about them? And they're like, oh, yeah, they're like a superstar. They're really great. And she's like, okay, these are the people that we hire. How do you think you compare against these people? He was honest and he said, I can't do what they can do. And she said, do you want to be constantly on the edge? Do you want to be on a team where you're the weakest link? Is it good for your career? She said, if I was on a team and I wasn't one of the top performers, I wouldn't want to stay on the team. Let's see. So she said, what happens after a 2.5 is that you get a PIP. I'm not going to put you on a PIP, and I don't want to put you on one. I don't think it's respectful of people to put them on PIP. So she was like, this isn't a good position for you to be in. So let's skip the PIP. And I want to help you find a better job in the company. And if you can't find one, then why don't you go out with a party so that you were never on a PIP? He seemed to like the result at the end of it. Spent time looking for another job, but everyone in the company would ask about him and no one had good feedback. So he couldn't get another job inside the company. We had a big party for him. He wrote a letter to everyone saying he was moving on to scuba diving. Eventually, he got a job in an engineering company and was promoted to manager, and it didn't require any decision making. He considers me a friend and we keep in touch. So that's what happened with Terry.
Okay.
So how did the manager, what did Herdy say? I just got another message. Can you please send it again? Hold on. Okay. Sent it to her again. So how did the manager do? Well, I think her communication was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
She was pretty like really specific with him and like blunt, you know, like she wasn't like beating around the bush like, well, maybe we can make it work. She was like, dude, this isn't gonna work. I don't want you on a PIP.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey.
No, sorry.
You're here.
You made it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on step 4. Wait, no, we're on step 5.
Okay.
So did you read the 2 Tough Calls B, the one where it tells what she does with Phil and Terry?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so we're just talking about Terry right now and how she wasn't going to put him on a PIP. So she said that he could hang around and try to find a job, but he couldn't do that. So he ended up having a big party when he left, and they're still friends with each other.
Okay.
So the question we're talking about is, what did the manager do well in her conversation and handling Terry?
Terry. Okay, I think, right. Can I go ahead? Am I used again?
So I was just saying that I think her communication method was good. She was like to the point with him. You know, she didn't like mislead him or give him any false hope that things were going to work out. She was pretty like blunt with him, like, this isn't going to work out. Let's try and find something that does work out, or you can leave without being fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our approach was good. And I like her attitude, like being open to everyone and able to tell when they are doing good and when they are not doing good. I think it was the best approach.
I was in my other leadership class and we were talking about something like this, but now I can't remember what it was. But it was about communication styles like this, and what was it?
It will come.
Oh yeah, that book I'm reading that I've mentioned before by Sheryl Sandberg, that Lean In book. So she's talking about how when she worked at Facebook, they try to make their communication as simple as possible. You know, like if you tell someone you don't like their idea, you basically just need to be like, you know what, I'm not really a fan of that idea, and here's why, instead of saying like trying to make it all flowery, and then they're confused and wondering, well, do you like it or not? You know, like you kind of just have to be
Don't
like,
make it fluff.
yeah, don't add all this unnecessary crap. Like, I wonder where that was. I have the book right here. Okay, hold on. might not be in here. You guys can keep talking.
I don't want to talk anymore.
Well, I don't either, okay? Okay, next question. Well, okay.
Okay.
Hey, I gotta give somebody a hard time today, okay?
I'll take it. So with Phil, letting him go would look like we're firing him because he had been sick, and he had been sick. So you don't fire a guy like that. And everyone around the company was rallying around him and so happy that he survived. So they hired a replacement while he was gone. When he came back, he had already been replaced. So he was essentially just an extra body on the team. And it was taking extra time to manage him. She gave him 3s on his reviews. He moved to another team, which was great for him. They continued to be friends, and he kept getting 3s on his reviews. A year later, he was diagnosed with inoperable brain cancer, and then he left, and then he died. So
Yeah.
Phil kind of got like shuffled around a little bit. I don't know. I think it was more of a financial drain on the company than an asset to them. But I feel like they were in this really spot where they couldn't just fire him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, what do you do in a situation? It said like, what did she do that was effective and not effective? I don't think it was effective to keep Phil, but I don't see what their other choices were.
Yeah.
True.
So it's like if you cannot be fired and there are a couple more employees who are sick and cannot be fired, and if all these people are in the company, in the long run, it will affect the company because they will be receiving a salary whereby they don't make any input to the company's productivity. So definitely it will have an effect on the company. But it's in that it's only Phil, and maybe if they have a couple more, it's going to be a problem. They need to be fired, definitely. Maybe it will not be appropriate or it's not right, but management has to find a strategic way to lay them off.
Okay. Yes, totally agree. Hold on, guys. My doorbell just rang. Okay, sorry guys. My son was ringing the doorbell. Locked out.
Where's my pants? I need pants.
Where's your pants at? In the laundry basket in my room. Go. I'm still in this for a few minutes.
Keep it.
Oh my god. Okay.
Towel around me.
So what can we learn from this about making decisions about termination? Anyone? Come on.
You better be careful.
Yeah.
Because the one that was sick, you had to be careful, but they had every legal right to terminate the other employee because he wasn't doing his job. He was bringing nothing to the company but taking money away from the company.
Yeah, that's true. And also, the management can fire him, like be a little bit sympathetic with them or a little bit humane, maybe an exit allowance or incentive to compensate the employee. Because at the long run, if the employee stay in the company, it's still not going to be helpful. So they just have to find a strategic way to fire that employee?
So, sort of, yeah, I feel like it's kind of like Laura said earlier, like you're walking on ice, kind of. Because you got to figure, I think you have to be really sensitive too to people, to what's going on in their personal life too, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't want to have to fire these guys. I don't want it to be me.
I understand that one.
I don't want to be fired either, I guess I could say that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I've watched my boss fire a lot of people, and he does it so easily. Like, he basically just walks them into the conference room, tells them that they're not doing a good job, and they're done, you know?
Thank you for your services. Here's your severance pay. Goodbye.
That might be true, but it may seem harsh some way. She got to do it.
Yeah, it's sort of like a band-aid. Like, you just have to rip it off and get it over with.
Yeah.
Okay, could it be like, can she reduce work week or the workload of the week?
Wait, what? Say that again.
So can she reduce work week or reduce the workload of the employee?
So,
If she
like the manager we're talking about in this case, can she reduce her workload?
like Phil, if she can't fire him, can she reduce the work week of Phil or reduce his salary?
I don't know.
Okay.
Let me read the, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't talk about like how much. Shh, go outside. Oh my gosh. Be quiet. Shh. Jeez. Well, even when Phil is sick, he's still coming in every so often and doing a bunch of work. And yeah, then he moves to other teams, so he works on the international team. But yeah, I guess they could just like take hours away from him and then save some money.
Yeah, maybe at least.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop this recording, but don't leave so we can talk about doohickeys.
Yes.